Bem-vinde à minha cozinha. Happy Mardi Gras, Feliz Carnaval to all of you all over. And what did we do when we celebrated Carnival in Azores as a kid, as long as I can remember, was with falash or malasadas. In my case, we called malasadas. We did not call falash. Over here, if I say malasadas, most people don't know what they are. They know them as falash. And as you can tell, I am ready to go. With my mask, I'm ready to celebrate. So I just need to get started on my malasadas or my falash. But I can't do with this mask, so I'm gonna take it off. So anyway, I already have some videos of malasadas or falash on my channel, but this is a request for a few of my subscribers that the ones that I have are too big. They wanted a small quantity. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna make a small quantity of falash. I'm doing this small quantity just for the video. Next weekend, I'm doing my big quantity that I do and sell for my customers. So in here I have 5 eggs. I have 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of dry yeast, 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of butter, 2 cups of warm milk, and then 8 cups of flour. I'm figuring this will give me maybe 20 falash, maybe or less, depending how big you make them. And then I have some water here. I have about 5 cups. I don't know how many I'm gonna use, so I'll let you know at the end. I will put the recipe on the description so you can look for it and you can do it. You know, most people do falash only once a year. I do them quite often. Oh, I did them quite often because I sell them for my customers. So at least every 2 months I was making falash for customers. So anyway, so I'm gonna do this small quantity just for the video. So I have 5 eggs, and this is a recipe that I kind of put on myself. So I figure more or less what would be enough for this amount of flour. I've never made this small quantity, so we'll see. So I'm gonna mix my eggs with my sugar. I like to beat this with my sugar and put it aside. Meanwhile, I'm gonna put in the milk my yeast and let this bloom. I know for a fact that this yeast is good because I bake quite often. So I know I don't have no problem. So I'm just gonna leave it here, mix it, leave it aside, and let it foam. It's gonna foam on its own. Anyway, and then I'm gonna put the salt with my flour and mix that too and put it aside. This is something that goes really easy, really fast. When I make it, especially big quantities, I don't make it by myself. I always have a couple of my sisters help me because you need one to stretch, you need one to flip on the oil, and then there's another one, sugar, and then put it in boxes. So I'm gonna add my butter in here with my eggs and with my sugar. And I'm gonna beat this. And when I do for my customers, there's times I do about 100 pounds. It's a lot. I don't sleep one whole night making the falash. So, but I'm gonna do this small quantity for those that need it. So as far as I can remember, going back to my childhood, we didn't have electricity. When I remember, have a vivid memory of my parents making foulage for us, and it was during Carnival. It is not one of my favorite times of the year because I was scared as a kid. You know, people used to come with those masks and they used to scare us. I remember I didn't like that time of the year for that reason. But I remember we didn't have no electricity, and my dad used to make this rug. It was made out of kind of straw, and we were all sitting on this rug waiting for the flush. No electricity. The oil lamp, and my mom had made the foulage, and now it was kind of getting dark, and my dad came home, and that's when my mom would make it because she needed somebody to flip or take out of the oil once she was stretching. And I had to be maybe 6, 7 years old. That's how far my memory goes with foulage or malassages, what we call them. So anyway, so my eggs, my butter, and my sugar, they're all mixed. And I'm gonna let it sit here for another 5 more minutes for this to bloom, and then we'll get started. Okay friends, my yeast, it's already foamed. And like I said, I use this yeast quite often, so I know it's good, so I won't have no issue. And I'm gonna do this by hand, but you can put all this in your mixer and do it, but I like to do it by hand. So I'm gonna mix with the eggs, the milk, and the sugar, mix all this, and then I'll add water as I see it needs. Depending the flours always change the amount of water you're gonna need. So I'm gonna measure into this cup. So far I'm gonna have 1.5 cups, and we'll see how much. And this is warm water, more towards the warm than cold. You want this to be warm water, but not too hot where it would kill the yeast. So I'm doing this, and next week I'm doing for my customers. And like I said, I usually do between 50 to 100 pounds of flour. It's a lot of foulage, and I stay all night long because I make my dough through the night. Okay, so I put 1 cup so far. And then my sisters come in the middle of the night and they help me frying and sugaring, and then it comes in the morning, customers come and they take their foulage. So anyway, you don't want this too wet, but then you don't want it too thick. That's how you want it, kind of where it sticks all over your hands. And don't worry if it's too, if it feels like it's too wet, because it will soak up as that flour soaks up into as the water and the milk soaks up into the flour, it will thicken a little bit. So, and that's it. I don't do much than this. I'm not beating here. I'm not mixing too much. I'm going to let this sit here for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to give a hand, and I'm going to do that 2 times, and then I just let it rise. So, so I put 1 cup of water. That's how much, and 2 cups of milk. Okay, friends, it's been 10 minutes, and I'm going to give a hand to my dough. And I get my hands wet, and then you just want to pull up, stretch, and fold. Pull up, stretch, and fold. And do this a couple times. And the dough will stretch, and that gluten start relaxing and, makes that easy. So when it starts getting hard, then just let it go. I put 5 eggs in here because my eggs were small. They're from our new chicken, so they're small. But if they're large eggs, 4 eggs would be enough for this recipe. So that's why I put 5 because they were small. So anyway, so now I'm gonna let this rest here for another 10 more minutes, covered. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, and then I'm gonna put it in my oven on proofing until this bowl, it's not gonna fill up all the way, but close to it for this quantity. So anyway, and depending where you're at, it might take longer because the weather. But on normal, maybe an hour and a half, it would be good for this to rise. Okay friends, it's been another 10 minutes, and I'm gonna give a couple more flips on my dough, and this is it. After this, I'm gonna put it back in the oven or put it in a corner somewhere and let it be. And it's in a good consistency, so anyway, and that's it. So okay friends, it is time to do my filoche, and let me show you. I told you it wouldn't fill up, but it's been a couple hours. I was busy doing something else, and I just let them stay in the oven. So now we're gonna shape. Now this is how I learned how to do it. That oil is not hot enough. I'm gonna let that oil get hot. Another way you can do is you can shape this into little balls and place it everywhere on a counter or on a table. Let them rise. And then when they rise again, they'll be easier to just stretch it. You gotta know how to stretch it. That's what I wanna say. If you don't know how to stretch it, if you don't feel comfortable, then it's hard to do. But they don't have to be perfect, Practice, practice, practice. I've done this many times, many. So, and you need this oil at least maybe 325 to 350 in order to keep this going. And I know that because when I put it in the bubbles, it's not sizzling. When the oil is kind of sizzling and kind of moving, it's hot enough. And it wasn't. So, anyway. So I'm going to let this get hot a little bit. Okay, my oil is hot. And you want to grab a little piece under your hands. And what I find is you move in your hands and you kind of stretching. And I started at the edges because the middle part was going to stretch no matter what. Or another thing I do, move it around and let the dough give in it by itself. It will give it by itself because of the dough itself will shape. So, and I'm using, I wet my hands with oil so it won't stick, and they shouldn't stick. If the dough has rised enough, it won't stick. And then you fry them, and then when they're golden all the way around, now I'm going to lower the stove to medium. I don't know how to make filoche smaller. I tried, but all my filoche, they're all big filoche. But you don't have to make it this big. Make however size you like. And then once they brown on one side, you flip it to the other side. So I'm going to do all this and then I'll show you. You want enough oil so they can float and move around. I would say I'd probably have 2 inches of dough, of oil from the bottom. And you want the stove low enough to cook them, to start browning, but not too hot, because you want to cook it inside. If it's too hot, it gets brown on the outside, but it won't cook in the inside. I was supposed to have my granddaughter come and help me because she wants to learn how to make this stuff, but it didn't happen today, so I have to do everything another time. I'm into my last one. It took me 20 minutes to fry all the flush. Okay friends, here it is, my flush. Look at this. They are hot. That's the only way I like to eat a falafel, is when they're hot. And I want you to see how soft they are inside. They're so fluffy. I can't show you. Look how soft they are inside. They melt in your mouth. Okay, 8 cups. It gives me 2 dozen flush. For mine, they're bigger size. So you might get more or less. This is my lunch. It's lunchtime here. And that's what I'm gonna have with a cup of tea. So now, for those people that have asked for a small recipe, I'm gonna leave the recipe on the description so you can do this. It's very easy. Only took me 20 minutes, but that was me. 20 minutes to fry them. Doesn't take that long. And if you have 2 people, even less time. And it gave me quite a bit for, for somebody that just wants for that moment, for a get together or something like that. So anyway, give it a try to this recipe. Share with your friends. Share on your social media. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell so you'll be notified when I put videos out. And until next time, let's get cooking. Have a happy Mardi Gras. Feliz Carnaval.